Hey, what's up? It's Kit. Time for another video. It's me and cousin Dan rolling today. We are doing the continuation of the last video. He's finally gonna have a chance to use his brand spanking new 10-gram setup. And yeah, we're both looking forward to it. Um, I am also very curious on how it all comes together. Casting it with the 10-gram jig, the intended jig for it, and of course other jigs. It's not only for specifically 10 gram, but it is put together so that it is optimized for 10 grams. So we have 15s, we have 10s, and we have 7 or 8-gram jigs, probably even 12. I have some in the box, that's for sure. We'll test it out, and we're heading to the pond right now, fishing the backyard, and see what we can catch. Now, the challenge today is we only have one rod and one reel. Okay, so I have one, cousin Dan has one, and that's it. So normally I fish with up to 4 rods, and I switch methods a lot, see which one produces or if I'm targeting multiple species and whatnot. But today is special because we're just gonna fish with one combo and that's it. So one for each of us, and then yeah, we'll see what we can catch. It is winter right now, so there's lots of species in the pond. Uh, well, palm, not pond, but there's a lot of species right now that are swimming in there. So we have possible a big possible species list. We don't know exactly what we're gonna catch, but majority of the time there would be queenfish. Uh, Brim actually have been known to bite these jigs, so it could be anything really, especially when it comes to light jigs such as this. The most important thing for us to keep in mind while we're doing this is that there are toothy critters that love these jigs. So, piece of advice if you want to actually do something like this, always have a lot of spares with the jigs, okay? Always have a lot of spares because you don't know exactly what you're going to catch. Or you don't know exactly what will bite. It could be something like a kingfish, and then you get lucky, like for me, like the last video, you could see I was able to land the fish. Sometimes it's just barracuda, and then they'll make a mess out of your jig if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, of course, you lose it after the strike. Same with kingfish. There are some groupers as well that would just head straight to structure. But yeah, anyway, if you're new to this channel, I do educational fishing videos. We do everything from big game, ultralight, everything in between, including fly fishing. And today we are fishing the 10-gram outfit that we put together for my cousin. And we're headed to the pond. So yeah, if you like tagging along in our adventures, or if you like learning a few tricks, tips, and all that, consider subscribing if you haven't yet. If you have, thank you very much for the support. And yeah, we'll see you at the pond.
Here we go. First cast. There's always that thing about first casts, right? It's always full of anticipation and everything. But hey, um, we learned earlier on that nature has its plan, and we kind of got delayed. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm standing near where the water was. The tide has receded quite a great deal when we arrived, so we were kind of delayed. one of the things that I've realized earlier on when I was, getting serious into fishing is that the time that's most convenient for you to fish isn't necessarily the most convenient time for the fish to bite. And it's very rare for these two instances to actually align with each other. Call it poor planning on our part, call it like nature's way of humbling us, but it even if you arrive in perfect conditions, you just can't explain. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. That's how nature is. What we can do though is take educated guesses, trust in your equipment, trust in your gear, trust in your ability to find and catch fish, and hopefully things work out. Now for us here, I mean, I was so up at one point I was so kind of unconvinced that there might be something wrong with the jig, and I as you can see I swam it in front of me just to check the action and everything, just to be sure. Now, it's very crucial in times like these to actually look at all the little things. It could be that the jig is bent or something. And at times like these, even the smallest fish would give you a big confidence boost. That's just to let you know that you're actually doing something right. And in this instance, this is kind of like a big boost for me here. When I caught this little guy, I knew that there was nothing wrong with what I was doing. It's just that fish were kind of lethargic, or maybe they just weren't active.
Yeah. Even the small ones, 10 grams, catches anything.
So after releasing the little guy, it was, you know, enough of me fooling around and all this. The whole singular purpose of this trip was to actually help out my cousin Dan right here with this new combo. And if you remember
So hindi siya gusto mag
a couple of videos ago, we
dos.
were setting things up for him. And this is the combo. And right now, after a few casts, he busted out his leader, and I'm putting on a new leader for him here so that he could, test out the gear, how it feels, and all that. And yeah, he was quite successful. I mean, today there were very little bites. There's quite a few bites to go around. Only a handful, really, of small guys that are biting. And after this, I actually casted out a different lure, which is a bucktail. And yeah, pretty much what happened there was that we were just checking to see how the gear is, how it's balanced, how it casts, and all this. So this is the whole purpose of this trip, and this is the whole reason why we weren't even early in the first place, because it was just to test things out. So before this, what I did was to actually put a bucktail, and there's a little gentle um, current that's flowing right now. Obviously, you can't see it, but this is the whole reason why we have the camera pointed out here. But I took a bucktail, casted it out, and just left it in a rod holder while I'm helping him out doing his rod, testing it out, casting it, and just getting the feel for it as well. And then I've noticed that the slack line on my rod was actually not there anymore. And I was like, hey, maybe I have a fish. And seems crazy. And then, boom, there was. Honestly, one of the more crazier things that ever happened. This was just cast out because what I wanted to do was work it when I'm done, like, checking his gear out, and I never really intended this to be something that I would fish. But honestly, this is dead sticked. Okay, this is when you're fishing your lure completely still. I just casted it out, let it sink to the bottom, and then this spangled emperor decided to inhale it. So at this point in time, we knew that it was a very good sized spangled emperor. And man, these sizes we catch offshore. So I'm pretty stoked that we were catching it from shore. You know, especially with how I caught this, because literally this is one of the craziest things that have ever happened to me, and we somehow caught it on video. Because most of the time, when you're fishing for these and you're using bait, that's fine, they would get. But this is a lure we're talking about that I just casted out, put on a rod holder, so that the lure is already out. I could pick the rod up and then work it after I tested Dan's gear. So wow, we just happened to capture it by accident. So yeah, when you least expect it, it's I don't know. It sometimes just happens and it's weird. This is one of the very few instances where it happened to me. Okay, over the years, a lot of strange things have happened, but yeah. So this is a 7 gram jig that I tied. It's a just I bought the jig head. I put the what do you call this? The craft fur on there with some flash. 7 grams, perfect. Still perfect for the rod and reel, but you can see here fished off the bottom, okay, just pretty much bottom fished with it with nothing else, and it produced this spangled emperor. It's strange, especially in the conditions that we're facing now. So much fun, and that was on 4 pound test. So 4 pound test braid. So that gave me a bit of a fright, but you know we got it. We got it done. So yeah, not bad. First fish of the day. Dinner guest too. So as mentioned earlier, this whole trip was set up for just it's a short session really, just for cousin Dan to be able to test out his new rod and reel, and we wanted to show you a footage also, just so you would see how things work. The tip is very sensitive. It's stiff. The tip is stiff to work the jig, but it's also soft so that you could detect strikes. A very very sensitive combo. While we were in the course of actually fishing, between the fish that I caught and when we took this footage, there were a lot of small fish that we we caught, but it, we weren't filming. Luckily, Dan did get some pictures of these small fish, which we're showing you right here, just to give you an idea of how sensitive the tip is. These fish were all biting when the jig was falling down. So all in all, Dan was really happy with his gear, and I'm also quite pleased that he likes what we put together for him. Anyway, just to give you guys an idea of how things put together, if you like this sort of video, by the way, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't yet. We'll see you in the next one, and for now, class dismissed.